Hi, everyone. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining in. Today, I am thrilled to invite and introduce to you Prerna Mukherjee, the founder of Outline India. She has a decade of research experience in helping measure impact and setting up large-scale data collection exercises, which are geared towards policymaking and development processes. Over the last few years, she has engaged in numerous multi-year, multi-stakeholder interventions across India, involving working closely with government officials, international donors, startups, not-for-profits, think tanks, and even universities. She was featured on Fortune magazine's 40 Under 40 list for her disruptive work with data at Outline India in 2017 and in 2018. More recently, she was also felicitated in the House of Commons, British Parliament, on the occasion of India's 75th Republic Day for making significant contributions to the field of data and development. In 2017, she was named one of the 10 most powerful innovators by India Today. And in 2019, one of the most powerful women by Business Today. And we are so excited to have such a accomplished personality here with us today. I'm sure the entirety of the RISE community, who are all early stage startup founders who are on their journey to do exactly what you're doing, to collect all of this, to put all of their passion into their dreams, into their vision, and making it come true. So thank you so much for joining us here today, Prerna. Lovely to have you here. And we're so excited to learn from you about your journey, your experiences, your thoughts on data, and more. Yeah.
And thank you so much for having me, Cheryl. And that was a very long introduction. But thank you so much for having me. Very excited. And I've been reading a lot about Razorpay on LinkedIn and through Nippon and some of the other people I know. So very kicked about all that's planned for today. Over to
Ab-
you.
Absolutely. In fact, Prerna, I had to cut down so much from that intro because you have done so many things across so much. So, yeah, the intro would have been a little long, but glad to get into it. Yeah. So, just to, kind of set context and, give an idea of where you came from and how this all started. What was the first thing that motivated you to, want to go out there, build your own firm, get into data, and so on and so forth?
Cheryl, so I think I started more than a decade ago in
Yeah.
2012 when, it wasn't as fashionable to say the word startup and, we didn't really talk about the word entrepreneurship
Yeah.
and, a lot not doing job was equated with just being poor or not finding the right set of opportunities. And, of course, the kind of work that I decided to take on or we decided to do at Outline India was considered to be very blue collar. So a lot of friends and family didn't really understand why, with my educational background and somebody who's trying to be an economist suddenly wanted to leave all of that and go to the field and collect data and travel in shared autos and common trains and do all that kind of work, right? But
Yeah.
I thought there was so much more, so much merit to it, and I'll tell you where all of this is coming from, right? So India saw its .com boom and IT boom, and everybody looking at India to set up their back end offices, and Indians being really good at analytics, etc., etc. And I started thinking about the fact that we're doing so much analytical work in India, but if the data that you analyzing
Yeah.
or the backend data work that's happening is questionable, then the
Yeah.
analytics is questionable, then that means your policies are questionable, and that means you're rolling out plans at scale in a country such as India based on data that is flawed. And I thought that was so problematic. I thought that was so criminal. And
Absolutely.
what if people like us, researchers, young blood, willing to go out into the field, getting their hands dirty? What if we could change that equation? What if we could change the game and do something as basic as data collection, but do it in a very researchy, very scientific, in a very planned manner? And hence was born Outline India.
Very nice. I believe when you started out, it was a bootstrapped experience, right? A lot of the founders in the rice community are bootstrapped, and they would love to know how do you manage with things at that scale and then growing,
Um, Cheryl, for everybody on this call today, we are bootstrapped, but we've been cash flow positive since day one. And of course, we've been through our good years and bad years, and we've been through a pandemic, but we've stood the test of time. We're a services company, and of course, now tech is a driver. In fact, we started doing back end data work for a lot of tech companies, so that's also part of the equation now. But running data collection exercises has been our mainstay. And
Okay.
just a second,
Yes, yes.
okay, there's coffee on the way. Very important. Thank you. Um yeah, so I think companies have to plan for things in advance. Not everybody needs money. Of course, money can help you get the right talent, and I wasn't smart enough back in the day to figure that piece out. So I don't have a co-founder either, but there's a good side to it, there's a bad side to it. There's merit to raising money and there are demerits to raising money. But
Yeah.
I think in my case, I'll talk about my specific example. We set out to work in the development sector. We wanted to change the game in the policy space. We wanted to work on all government policies. We wanted to work at scale, and we've been able to do all of that because we've been able to determine what we'll do, how we'll do it, when we'll do it, in what fashion we'll do it. And I think
Yeah.
that kind of decision making can happen if you're getting to call the shots. So of course, raising money is not for everybody. If it's meant for you, go for it, but don't go chasing money. That's not the end all be all of it. There are businesses that can thrive, survive, do really well, whether it's an Outline India, whether it's a MailChimp that never raise money. That there are lots of companies and lots of businesses out there, that have great stories to tell.
Amazing. So you mentioned that, you managed to get into data at a time when, a lot of interest was being shown into India and things. So just want to know at that point of time, since there was like a lot of data available, a lot of research that was done, how did you manage to differentiate Outline India when that data was readily available on the internet and, at everyone's fingertips? So how did you make your data stand out in that?
Well, yes, in fact, I get this question asked even today कि आप जो कर रहे हैं वो बाकी सबसे अलग क्यों है? And I think data. We talk about data so much. It is such a bastardized term. Din raat data, data, data. But there are different types of data. Number
Yeah.
one, and I think what we often forget to mention is that. Again, just getting into numbers, about half the world is still offline, right? 50% of humanity is not online. If you get into
Yeah.
India's numbers, 50% of your population is still not online. Of the remaining who are online, there these supersets, women not online as much, children of course not online, elderly not as online, right? But these are, there's a huge business opportunity. Again, when we talk about policy making, whether it's government personnel, whether it's startups, whether it's agri-tech businesses, people do want to be able to target these communities when they want to figure out what solution to launch, what innovation to launch, what
Yeah.
payments network to launch, etc., right? But fortunately or unfortunately, there's not a lot of data around them.
Yeah.
And when you go online, whether it's secondary data sets or whether it's data sets that a lot of social media portals help you arrive at, they
Yeah.
do not factor in the needs, opinions of these supersets. And I'm not saying subsets, I'm saying supersets, because women, it's a superset.
Yeah.
Children, youth, it's a superset, right? And of course, things are evolving, things are changing. Cell phones are now widely available. Internet packages are, much, much cheaper. India has the cheapest data packages, but there's still many a black hole that exists, right? Again, if I was to take an example, within the government of India at scale, there's a big push present moment in terms of financial inclusion to bring women on board the digital payments disruption, right? So whether it's your Paytms, whether it's your fintech companies, everybody's talking about how you get women living in a rural area to start using her mobile phone to make financial transactions. How do you get her online? And mind you, this is a woman who perhaps has a basic Java phone. This is perhaps a woman who's not as literate, so she can't read.
Yeah.
So what are the kind of solutions you can make available? So I'll just take a couple of examples of the kind of things we're experimenting with, right? Somebody came to us and said, guys, can we try out a human ATM?
Okay.
That we mean we're going to train this one individual
Yeah.
to or be an ATM and make visits on specified days to various villages. And he or she is going to have access to a cell phone. Cheryl or Prerna, who perhaps are not literate, don't use the digital economy, or have never used
Yeah.
digital payment solution will come to that individual with their Aadhaar. There'll be a thappa or
Mm.
a thumbprint, and that individual will make the financial transaction on that woman's behalf. Why
Ah,
is this a win-win-win? It's a win-win-win because now that woman who earlier was only making money in cash is now making money digitally.
yeah.
So we don't have some intermediary stealing away a part of her money. Now that the money is going to my account and not my husband's account, it encourages me to participate in the labor force. So,
Yep.
those livelihood numbers go up. If more women are participating in the job economy, your GDP looks much more better.
Yep.
Uh, why are your private parties interested? Because now the banks are receiving, they have more transactions to play with. So private sector wins. Your startups win because now they have access to this entire data set from a new superset, i.e., women whose behavior is very different from men.
Yep.
So my point is that there's a lot of data sets at present moment don't exist or don't exist in the shape, form, on scale that you and I would expect. And that is why you need companies such as ours to bring those data sets to our partners. And that could be a philanthropist, that could be a donor, that could be an impact fund, that could be a startup. Use cases are many, but everything drives home to one fact that in person data collection, tech enabled, is still needed and needed at scale.
Lovely. I love how we're reaching out and getting even folks who are not anywhere on the internet, who are not easily accessible, giving them that opportunity, giving them that chance, and giving them that freedom that an otherwise literate person would have easily access to. Love that. So you have clearly worked across different regions and different kind of cultures. When you're following into different new regions, what are the things that you got to keep in mind so that you adjust to that region, or you are comfortable in that region and you're able to get like good accurate data in that region?
I mean, I could talk about this for a whole day, Cheryl, but uh, you know, uh, uh, India is a very interesting animal.
Yeah.
It evolves, it devolves. Communities are different, people are different, languages are different, culture is different, and the context changes on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
Um, our work is affected by politics, policy, weather, and vagaries of change. So we were working in Odisha about a year and a half ago, and it was a study of women's empowerment and governance. And we were working in a bunch of districts, and they issued the red warning, cyclone red warning. And I
Yeah.
remember my field teams were deployed, and it started raining and pouring, and it went from orange warning to red warning within a single night. And
Yeah.
we had to find covers for people, and we had people locked up for 2 3 days till some of those issues dissipated, and then we deployed people back, right? And then we were working in another state. I'm not going to take the name. The government changed, and
Okay.
because the government changed, their expectations from those data sets were different. Their expectations from what present day numbers look like changed, and so we lost permissions to be able to do surveys in that state, and that changed um, the roadmap of that intervention and policy deployment for the next 3 years, right? Then
Wow.
we were working in another place in Bihar, and we went into these communities, and we were there to collect information on sexual health of adolescent girls. And that's a big pool of women, right? India's trying to make big strides when it comes to creating awareness.
Yeah.
Youngsters, young boys, young girls, etc., etc. And again, it's a very hush hush topic, but I think there are lots of apps and there's a lot of platforms and a lot of youngsters that are trying to change the way things are done. And for better or for worse, we sample, right? We don't interview everybody in a village or in a community. So we had a small sample or a specific set of people we were supposed to talk to. And the people who we did not end up talking to, somebody spread the rumor at that point that somebody else had come into that village a couple of months ago and spread misinformation about how certain organs वो बेहोश करके organ निकाल लेंगे and all of that, right? So we had to abandon that village, and again, it was such a loss, right?
Yeah.
On a completely different day, again, when we work with young kids, we work in schools, and to get a young child to sit with you for 20 minutes is not easy. And we were administering this survey with kids in the age groups of 3 to 6, so we thought कि उनको crayons देते हो, let's give them crayons, and that might encourage them to give better answers.
Yeah.
But then some one of our researchers said that what if the child ends up eating the crayon? Who deals with that, right? So my point is, India is such an interesting beast or animal, or it's such a beauty that your assumptions change on a daily basis.
Yeah.
आप सोच के जाएंगे that x करने से y होगा, but ऐसा कभी नहीं होता. x करने से abc a cube भी हो जाता है, right? So that calls for a very interesting use case, but that also calls for being very meticulous and just being prepared for something or the other to go wrong, some or the other upheaval to happen, and that's what makes our job very tough,
Yeah.
but also very exciting at the same time.
I can only imagine. That really does sound quite chaotic, but I'm sure in a way it's fulfilling for you as well, right? When you do manage to cross those hurdles, when you do manage to get to whatever you were looking for, I'm sure that has been
I
very
mean,
fulfilling.
absolutely right, Cheryl. I mean, I think we've been part of these beautiful stories in India, and again, we're like the spot boys, right? Ki, think of a Bollywood movie कि आप spot boy को कभी नहीं देखेंगे, but we're the spot boys to this entire data ecosystem, because the data sets that we collect, or the data sets that we play with, they never see the light of day, because either it's audit data, or it's policy data, or indirectly it's data for the government of India. And obviously, some of those critical data sets are not made publicly available because it's very sensitive in nature, or it
Yeah.
can lead to certain reactions which are unnecessary, or it's data sets from interim reactions to certain policies which are not completely representative. So a lot of our data centric work doesn't see the light of day. But for instance, we helped in a big way the government of India determine what had gone wrong with India's RSBY scheme, which is the first health insurance scheme that India had, and after which it was subsumed within Ayushman Bharat. So we participated in that entire ecosystem. When we were doing that entire Swachh Bharat campaign, we worked with some 20 state governments and at scale to understand people's reactions to Swachh Bharat. लोगों को समझ आ रहा था कि नहीं. We go as deep as कि रेडियो में मैसेजिंग जो होगी उसमें माधुरी दीक्षित को डालें या नंदिता दास को डालें. What will people respond to more? Will they use washrooms more if it's Nandita Das or Madhuri Dixit, right? We will try and determine कि स्कूल पे जो लिमरिक लिखा है कि हाथ धो and X will happen, Y will happen, what limerick will Cheryl remember more, and what limerick will somebody from an urban background remember more, right? So that is the extent of research, and that's how deep we go. In fact, we were working with this one cartoon company, and that's the most widely watched cartoon across all of India. It comes on Doordarshan. Again, I'm not going to take the name. And for that partner, we were basically trying to determine how you teach very young kids the concept of banking. कि माँ बाप मनी लेंडर के पास ना जाए, they use banks. Okay. And there's a very cute cartoon character who will come and try and plant a seed and grow a plant, and then there'll be an apple, and then he'll eat that apple and then be healthy, right? So they came up with this visual aid of sorts, and we had those kids looking at that visual aid, and we would try and determine the focus of the child by noting down how many times the child blinks. Again, that is to determine the focus of the child. So there is very interesting research methodologies we use present day to determine focus, interest, recall, retention, interest, association, all those things, right? And why we're different is we're not doing it to understand whether Colgate का minty fresh ज़्यादा बिकेगा या anti-plaque कुछ ज़्यादा बिकेगा. We're doing this to help our partners figure how to get rural populations to go to banks, or how to get women online and use digital payments networks, or how do you get individuals to use generic drugs over other drugs, right? So I mean, I think we go to bed very happy, knowing that, you know, we've made these contributions that are helping our partners build for Bharat in a way, right? And that's important.
That's lovely. That's lovely. I know that a lot of founders right now, they are currently starting off. They have a small subset of, customers or merchants that they are working with. And data does play like a very key role in understanding how they are behaving. But as they scale, as they grow, how can data help them ensure that, they are doing it right and they're doing it in a way that is meeting the needs of all the consumers, because even their consumer profiles will change as they evolve, as they grow, as the set grows bigger. How can data and how can they keep data in mind and make sure that they use it in the right way while they're growing, while they're scaling?
I mean, I think, Cheryl, every step, I think every moment of our lives is governed by data, right? You
Yeah.
decided to use Zoom and not another platform because of a certain reason,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you're wearing that sweater because you liked a certain brand, because they influenced you in a certain way, right? You're talking in a specific accent because you come from a certain location, etc., right? So I think user profiling is something that's happening, you know, without us realizing it. But I think just in terms of individuals running businesses, I think uh, you know, it is important to know that you're going in with certain assumptions, but those assumptions will be thwarted or quashed. So you need to prepare for your target audiences to change, for an evolution in terms of their behavior, for external factors to override their key instincts, etc., etc. But you know, other than some of these more obvious things, I think coming up with KPIs that appeal to your line of business and then tracking them diligently over an extended period of time. And of course, you know, when you start out as a business, you'll have very basic KPIs. I mean, आपका business ही छोटा होता है. There's a lot of metrics that will simply not make sense. But you know, stick to your guns, and over a period of time, as your business evolves, you will see that you're able to adopt your KPIs to your line of work. Uh, like I said, right? I mean, without tracking work, without tracking where your business is coming from, without tracking where you need to go next, you just like a bull in a china shop, and that's just hoping for things to run smoothly by a matter of coincidence. That doesn't call for a business person or a startup owner or a smart
Yeah.
founder. I mean, that's just hoping for windfall. That's not smart. So
Yeah.
you know, it's obvious that you got to track your metrics and track them very early on.
All right. Do you have any views into what would the future of data look like, going forward? And if there's any emerging trend that you feel our founders should keep an eye out for, that, hey, this is something that I need to know for my startup, and this is something that I need to evolve with and keep up with.
I mean, so I'll interpret that question, Cheryl, in a way that I
Yeah.
understand. I mean, of course, you know, I don't know what the future will look like, but I set up a company that would work only for data and impact. And I had never thought that we'd end up working for funds. I had never thought that we'd end up doing, you know, back-end data work for AI companies. I'll just take an example, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of algorithms. There's a lot of tech companies that are trying to build India's version of a chat GPT, etc., right?
Yeah.
But there are severe limitations to those algorithms or you know, language models. Why is that? That is because data sets have their own limitations. If you're just pulling up data sets that exist online, again, for reasons that I already discussed, it doesn't factor in the needs and the opinions of women, children, elderly men, people living in, you know, rural remote parts of the country, which is about 75% of India, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big part of what my company Outline India is looking to do. In fact, we are trying to strike a few collaborations with some of the bigger players, and we hope to bring to the fore um, text-based data, language-based data, and image-based data. And by that I mean, you know, what are the kind of plants that grow in a certain geography in Madhya Pradesh, right? So images of those plants, right? So when you, for instance, point your cell phone and Google Lens picks up that this is a table or a chair or this is a milkshake, Just like that, if you did the same in a rural part, it probably won't do the same, right? Now,
Yeah.
your Siri and your Google Translate, of course, are improving, but how good are they in Kannada or Tamil? Not as much, not so good, right? So, how do you improve upon them? You improve upon them if you have these language recordings, or if you have somebody, to provide data sets in Kannada or Tamil that can then be fed into these algorithms
Yeah.
to improve upon them, right? And that's again something that we're doing at scale. So we have a roster of, so during the pandemic, Cheryl, we built a little tech app, and I'm going to come to that, that basically uses gig workers for data collection. And we reached out to some 5,500 housewives who spoke different languages, and they could work from home. And these are now women who we're reaching out to record, to send us recordings in different languages that we are now sharing with some of these tech companies so they can improve upon their language models, right? So,
Yeah.
so my point is that when I set up Outline India 10, 11 years ago, I didn't think that this would be a use case. I didn't think that this would be such a critical need, but here we are, right? So.
All right. So you've come a long way, and over the years, it has changed, it has evolved, it has transformed, and it has opened up new avenues as well for you. Right? That's lovely. And I know that a lot of a huge part of this journey are a lot of the collaborations and the partnerships that you have done. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what were these partnerships like, and what are some things that like if any of these startup founders want to work with, say, government bodies or organizations, what are some of the things they need to keep in mind when they are, fostering these relationships or these partnerships?
Um, uh, I think one, if you're running a company, it is important that you know the right set of people and the right set of people know you. And something that time has taught me is that you don't want to get to know somebody because you need something from them that day, but you want to get to know them because you appreciate them, because they are smart, because they know their field well.
Yeah.
And in the medium run or in the long run, you'd be surprised how the pieces will come together. And that you might need their help at some level in terms of connecting with somebody, or in terms of figuring out strategy, or in terms of fostering collaboration. And if you pick up the phone and call them, you'd be surprised as to how much they are willing to help. I think that's one big learning in my level. But I think at another level, I think just in terms of forging partnerships, be open to where your clientele will come from. There's something known as downstream outsourcing. So you may not be able to take on all the work, or all the work may not be relevant to you, but
Yeah.
have a set of partners who are smaller than you, have a set of partners who are probably doing bigger, better things than you. And if you get work that you are not able to take on, pass it along to them. You'll be surprised again in terms of how things might come together.
Yeah.
The third thing that I realized is, and I've just about started doing, is that there are some other companies that started around the time that Outline India started, and some of them have now evolved into government advisory companies, or they've evolved into tech platforms for the social sector. Some of them have, one of them has evolved into a big media house that just talks about interesting things happening in the development sector.
Yeah.
And we're in the process of striking partnerships with all of them, the tech company, the media house, the government advisory, because we all need each other. They might all need data sets from different vantage points. The media house might need, opinion polls. The government advisory company might need quick reactions on a certain government policy. The tech company might need somebody to use their tech platform and collect data. And in a similar fashion, we might need all these companies to get more clients, or in terms of having more expertise on board. You need not know everything yourself. You need not have all the pieces figured out.
Yeah.
No one person can know everything, and it is for this reason that partnerships are super important.
Absolutely. And I'm guessing that partnerships would also play a very big role when you are just starting out. You don't have that much, money to put into research. Because as far as I know, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but research is really expensive. And how do you, as a starting out founder, you can only access the data what is available on the internet. That's all secondary data. How do you get your primary research, and how do you ensure that it is of good quality without really burning a lot of money into it?
Very difficult question, Cheryl. I don't know if I have the answer, but I know this much that uh, you know maybe if you just want to get some quick and dirty numbers, secondary data sets should do the trick.
Yeah,
But on other occasions, I think talk to 100 people. That's your own primary data set, right?
yeah,
And make sure not all those that all those people are not your friends, because all your friends will be from a certain ecosystem. So make sure the inherent biases of people who are 1 or 2 degrees in separation
yeah,
don't stand tall. So be smart, but I think just having a lot of conversations, if you can't afford research by an external party, from an external party, do that. And of course, when you do have a small body of money, invest. It's like strategic investment. And I want to go ahead and say everybody has 6 7 lakhs to burn or to put to good use. You'd be surprised how important or how far that initial expense on research or some quick due diligence will take you. I mean, like I said, right, we have these startups coming to us and saying, we want to figure out why we're not doing so well in this particular state, or we just changed our strategy of selling, and there's this company that's doing really well that just raised another round, came to us and said, listen, we want to figure out why, is there a government policy, or why our stores aren't doing so well, and these are our numbers. And we did this very quick due diligence exercise for them that wasn't too expensive. That was about 11 lakhs plus taxes, right? That's not too much. And it obviously informed their state level rollout. It informed what their campaigns would look like. It informed the text in their advertising material, right?
yeah,
So, you don't want to be penny wise, pound foolish. And obviously, you as the founder, you're getting pulled into 20 different directions. You don't want to go do that research as well yourself. You definitely want a third party to come in who's not thinking like you, who's coming in from a different vantage point to
yeah,
inform your decision making. I will repeat, make that investment when you have that small body of money. Do a quick pilot or do a quick dipstick like this say, or what we also call RAP, or do a rapid assessment of sorts. But
yeah,
get your numbers in. Don't be random about taking a decision कि अच्छा सब ये कह रहे हैं तो ये सही होगा. No, that's not how it works. सब ये कह रहे हैं because you're talking to those set of people, right? People may be thinking something completely different. सब ये कह रहे हैं put simply because you are on Instagram 4 hours a day, or you're on LinkedIn 2 hours a day, or you're on Reddit 3 hours a day. No, that's not how it works. Get out, get some professionals to help you. You need not have all the answers. Get the right set of people to help you.
yeah. I completely agree. I know it can be expensive, but it's good to have that, a more accurate data, free of biases, because doing that research on your own, as long as you understand what it takes to get that data,
Right.
otherwise there could be a lot of inherent biases. If you're just talking to people in and around your circle, in and around your network, you may get a very skewed view of what the market might actually look like, or what customer behavior might actually look like. So, yep, completely agree on that front. Few more questions around, just to get, our founders more acquainted with data. Uh, you mentioned, sorry. Basically, I wanted to kind of go into what are the kind of, now we know that the startup landscape is constantly evolving. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of changes. How do we make sure that, this learning, there's a learning curve that is happening? Right now they are in the process of setting up those setting up their own processes. So how do you ensure that as you are growing and as you are scaling, that iterative learning process is happening, that you are you are focused on evolving with the landscape while also setting down certain structures, certain processes for your company, right? So just want to get to know how does one ensure that ratio is fine, that we're setting up a structure, but we're also leaving enough room for iterating and learning and evolving on that.
So I think I'll just take a couple of examples from things I have done in the last couple of years. Sharon. So one is beginning of the year or every quarter, I will write it down and physically write it down in a diary or on my note-taking app about a few things that I want to do with the company. And then obviously I track it every quarter or every 6 months, right? So that's one way. The second thing is, I think, have mentors or advisors, and these can be people on your board, or even if you don't have a structured board because you're too nascent a company, it can be somebody smart. It can be a business person, it can be an entrepreneur, but it has to be somebody on the outside who can, uh, you know, uh, uh, call out, if you're not doing well or if you're not being ambitious enough. So, have those people on your file, people who you can go meet or people who you can call when you're not feeling it, when you feel like you're stuck, when you feel like you're not motivated, when you feel like you're not taking enough risks. So I think have that set of mentors. That's two. And I think third, just have the right set of teammates to keep you on track, right? If you're getting complacent, or like I said, if you get, I think as a startup founder, there are two sets of perils that you face, right? One is not being ambitious enough, and two, getting complacent. So one is you're not going after the big prize, or you're just getting distracted by the small hurdles or the everyday of running a business. And the second is you're doing well, but you're just too happy in your comfort space, and then it becomes more of a lifestyle business. And I've also been blamed off it on different days, but I think you know try and strike the right balance. And it really depends upon you and your team about in terms of the goals you have for your company, right? An agri-tech company's goals may be very different from an FMCG company's goals, may be very different from a services company's goals, may be very different from an AI company's goals, etc., right? Your journey is yours, your ambitions are yours. You can't ape someone else's priorities. You can't compare your journey to someone else's. I think that's one thing that a lot of founders end up doing. They'll compare themselves to their friends or their peers or who they see on LinkedIn, and it can be such a black hole and it can be so depressing that can lead them to doing crazy things. But just remember, your journey is yours, and no one's tracking you as much as you are.
Fair. If you had to say one thing to a younger Prerna who is just starting out, what would that one thing be to, for her to look out for, or for her to keep in mind while she's growing? A Prerna from, say, over a decade ago, what would you want to say to her as she's just starting out on her startup journey?
Wow. Meet more people. Meet more people. I think for a couple of years I just put my head down and work. But I think maybe would have grown faster or scaled faster or done better and learned more if I had gone out, met more people, and met more people from different sectors. I think that would have called for a more interesting journey, maybe.
Maybe, but I think this journey has already been very interesting. All right. So I think this is one question that, a lot of founders, at least in the community, would have as soon as, we put up that message about, hey, we're getting Prerna to come here and speak to us. I sent in the LinkedIn profile, I sent in a quick intro, and everyone's just wondering, as a Fortune 40 under 40 entrepreneur, what would your one advice be to any early stage startup founder? Now, this is not just you, this is any early stage startup founder when they're just starting out, they're just beginning their startup journey. And I'm sure, while they're in that process, there's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
motivation, demotivation. How do you tackle all of this in the very first few stages of this
So
journey?
I have a very clear answer to this, Cheryl, because I've gone
Yes.
to my sister, to my friends, or one or two people who I love so many times, and I think I want to tell other startup founders out there: don't compare yourself to anyone else. Even if you feel your company's not shot to the moon today, doesn't mean it will not shoot to the moon next year, the year after, 10 years hence, or 15 years hence, right? There are companies that will, and don't think success equal to raising money. A lot of companies that raise money go into the ground. A lot of companies that are always in the news may be making zero money. A lot of companies that latch on to current trends again might become an investor favorite, but doesn't mean they will be there 2 years hence. So do not assume that your company will not be biggest because of where it is today. Don't compare. Just don't compare yourself to anyone else. If somebody had told me this, I think there'd have been a lesser heartache. And again, जो दिखता है वो सच नहीं होता. So just because, like I said, somebody's in the news, or somebody's raised money, or somebody's knows the right set of people, or somebody is an investor favorite, doesn't mean they are doing really well. You know your business, you focus on your business, and again, your journey is yours. At the end of the day, it really matters what your business means to you and how well it is doing. Don't get distracted by everything else and everyone else. Shut that noise out. That's white noise.
Completely agree. I'm sure this is something that a lot of founders would face. It's so evident on, say, a LinkedIn or a social media where you just get to know of so much happening around, so many different founders doing different things. And at times you might look at yourself and think that, hey, what am I doing? And
Absolutely.
yeah, and that's something that should not dishearten them. Instead, it should just inspire them that if someone else is doing it, there is a good chance that I can get there as well.
And if it's not inspiring, you shut it down. Yeah, you do your work. Don't get those newsletters and don't open LinkedIn, and just know that a lot of it is no, it's half the story.
Yeah,
So yeah, don't fall for it.
got it. All
And जो
right.
सबसे बड़े founders है, Cheryl, one thing more, a lot of founders who are doing really well, or whose businesses are going through the roof, you won't read about them at all.
Yep.
They don't have time to post on LinkedIn. I mean, of course, they'll have PR teams, etc., etc. And they're not speaking on panels. They're not there at every conference. So you will not see a lot of hoopla around them because they're too busy building one, two, three businesses.
Yeah. All right, then. I'd like to quickly open the floor up for any questions from the audience. There was one from Kushal, if I may take it right now. He's asked, okay, I'm not sure how this will work, but okay. Key data security measures mandatory for payment fintech companies.
I may not be the right person to answer that question, so I will jump that.
Yeah, no worries. Folks, if you have any questions, you can either unmute yourself and ask that question, or you can quickly put it up in the chat. I feel like I heard someone. All right. Okay, I think I have pretty much covered all the questions that everyone wanted to ask.
It's also Friday afternoon, Cheryl.
That's so true. That is so true. We generally do our sessions on Friday evenings, Friday afternoons, and yeah, can imagine.
Everybody's done building for the day. Ours, it's all about where the drinks are, so it's fine.
All right, awesome. So as of now, I think we're reaching the end of our session. And we have about 10 minutes. And if you would like one last message to the Rise community, maybe some kind of an inspiration or some motivational quote that has been with you always that you would like to leave us with today.
I think work hard and party very hard. And party can mean play, actual party, travel, whatever. It's one life. And I think you will work better if there's a reward system that you've come up with, and the reward system can be different for different people. For me, it's going out, raging, partying, etc., going off on a bender. So, make sure you have your reward system in place. Um, Keep it fun. Keep it fun. Don't take yourself too seriously. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So what we're going to do is after the end of the session, once the recording is in, we'd be uploading it to YouTube. We'd be sharing it with all the community members. So I'm sure they'd be very excited to get to know and see, hear from your experiences and your journey. And this has been an enlightening session. And I have enjoyed this conversation with you so much, Prerna. So thank you so much for doing this for us. And yeah, have a lovely weekend. And thank you folks for all joining in. If it's okay with everyone, I'd like to quickly run one last poll just to get a sense of how did everyone find this session. And yeah, just give me a second. I'm not able to launch it for some reason.
No worries, Cheryl.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining in, everyone. I guess we'll just call this the end of the session.
Thanks,
All
Reena.
right.
Thank you.